Good evening. We are back to the study of the Spirit's book. We are still in book 3, chapter 8, Law of Progress, the last item, which is influence of Spiritism on progress. Question 798. Okay, Philip, all yours.
Will Spiritism become a widespread belief, or will it continue to only be accepted by the minority? It will definitely become a widespread belief and will mark a new era in the history of humankind because it belongs to nature and the time has come for it to be recognized and accepted by human knowledge. It will have to withstand fierce criticism prompted by selfish interest rather than by conviction, because there are individuals whose interests lie in tearing down this belief, some out of pride, others for material motives. Its opponents, however, will be forced to join the general consensus or otherwise risk undermining their own efforts. Ideas are only transformed over the course of time, never suddenly. Flawed ideas are weakened over successive generations and end up disappearing little by little, along with those who possess them. They are replaced by other individuals with new ideas, as is the case in regard to political ideas and principles. Look at paganism. No one today professes the religious ideas of pagan times, yet they left traces that could only be erased by the complete rebirth of the human beings who supported these beliefs for several centuries after the dawn of Christianity. The same will happen with Spiritism. It has been making considerable progress, but healthy skepticism will persist for 2 or 3 generations that only time will be able to break down. Nevertheless, its progress will be faster than that of Christianity because Christianity itself clears the way for it and serves as a basis and support. Christianity had to destroy prior beliefs. Spiritism only has to build up from there.
Okay. So again, this was written in 1857, right? Kardec asked the spirits if Spiritism will become a widespread belief, and we have uh, to amplify the ideas and go beyond Spiritism here, right? So the ideas that Spiritism brings, the concept of reincarnation, the concept of mediumship, this is what is going to be more widespread accepted, the natural laws, the existence of the superior being, which is God, or however we want to call it. The spirits tells us that it will face fierce criticism prompted by selfish interests. And we see that, right? It faced a lot of criticism. It continues facing criticism. It continues facing opposition, and also different paths, right? So people nowadays combine Spiritism concepts with other concepts and with Eastern beliefs, and all is useful if it helps us evolve morally and intellectually. The problem are the lies. The problem are the criticism prompted by selfish interests, right? When they try to deny the existence of anything useful in Spiritism, it becomes a sort of a fight of those that are trying to disseminate the teachings that Spiritism brings, and those that are trying to fight against it. But the problem that we saw with Christianity, for instance, is that Jesus came and brought a beautiful message of love. He didn't create a religion. Jesus never professed that he was creating a religion. He brought ideas, concepts, the truth, God's law. It was interesting the other day. I learned he was the first one that brought the idea that God is our Father, right? Because all the other religions before Christianity, many of them talked about God, about with different names, but none of them uh, said that God was the Father. That we are all brothers and sisters, right? Because the other religions they have their own issues with the divinity. But Spiritism, as Kardec says hereafter, it comes to build on Christianity because Christianity had to destroy some concepts, right? The multiplicity of gods, the all the beliefs that the Greek had and the Romans have, which were mainly coming from paganism, right? In this, it's diverse in the different forms. Um, Spiritism is just building on what Christianity already brought, right? On the teachings of Jesus, it's eliminating what is not. Relevant without discarding it. But when Kardec brought the gospel according to Spiritism, he focused on the moral teachings of Jesus, right? Because the moral teachings are the ones that are going to stay forever because they are the divine law. Now, the facts that are brought in the gospel in the Bible that are not there are historical facts that can be questioned. Again, it's not moral teachings, so it's not really relevant for our moral growth, which is what we have to focus on is on our moral growth. What can help us evolve morally? If Jesus went to India or Jesus went to live with the Essenes, which, in Spiritism, we don't agree with that, but it really doesn't make any difference in terms of his moral teachings. The teachings that he brought are what we have to focus on. And that's where Spiritism is bringing this knowledge. And this knowledge, it's as it was said. I'm not sure if it was Leon Denis that said that Spiritism is not the religion of the future; it's the future of religions. Meaning, the concepts that Spiritism brings are going to be accepted eventually by the other religions. We know that there are in Brazil priests that study Spiritism, that study mediumship, of course, not in the open and not officially, but we have knowledge of some of them. We have a nun in Brazil that participates in a lot of Spiritist events and a lot of roundtable discussion with Spiritists, and she's very well. She has a lot of knowledge, and she embraces the concepts of Spiritism without leaving behind the fact that she's a nun, which is perfectly fine. Again, you don't need to leave behind your religion to study Spiritism. You don't need to become a Spiritist. You don't need to leave behind what you were before if you don't want to, right? Many do, but we have people in Spiritism that comes from Judaism, a lot of them that comes from Catholic Church, right? Then many of them continue to go to to the church or go to follow the traditions of Judaism, and that's perfectly fine. Again, the teachings of Spiritism is what matters. You don't, like Chico Xavier said, right? If Spiritism said that without Spiritism there is no salvation, I wouldn't be a Spiritist. The maxim is without charity there is no salvation. And for you to do charity, you don't need to be a Spiritist. You just need to be morally evolved enough to think of others uh, as much as you think of yourself or more, or maybe a little less, but to think of others. Okay?
799.
Yeah.
How can Spiritism contribute to progress? By destroying materialism, which is one of the plagues of society, and making people understand where their true interest lies. When human beings no longer doubt the future life, they will understand more clearly that they can guarantee their future by the present, by destroying the prejudices of division, caste, and skin color. It teaches individuals about the great solidarity that will one day unite them as brothers and sisters.
So the answer from the spirits, we have to understand that at that time when Spiritism came in 1857, um, we we were running away from the dogmatic religion. Science was progressing, and with it, it brought materialism with it. The denial of everything religious, the denial of God, and the destruction of spirituality. That's what they were trying to do at that time, to deny the existence of God and everything of a spiritual nature. And Spiritism comes to combine science and religion, all with a philosophical view of it. So the objective here, as the spirits tells us, is to prevent materialism from spreading like a plague. Has it succeeded? Partially, right? Because if you look nowadays, you have a lot of people who do not believe in God, especially in Europe, because of victims of all these wars and all the destruction that happened in Europe. But here in the United States, for instance, the vast majority of people believe in God, more than 80%. So, even when religion is no longer an imposition and nobody is forced to be religious when you become an adult in most places, we still have spirituality present with different denominations. Now, the other thing that Spiritism brings, and that's really way ahead of its time at the time it comes, is destroying the prejudices of divisions, castes, and skin colors, that we are all the same, we are all brothers and sisters. This at a time that we still had slaves, that we still had different classes, and Spiritism comes in 1857 and says that we are all the same. There is no division. And this is something that we are progressing, but we're still not there, right? Slavery took another some 20, 30 years to be abolished after Spiritism came. Official racism took another 100 years to be abolished. Now we still have unofficial racism, right? In South Africa, which was the last country that had official racism, it was in the 90s, right? That Mandela was elected, and abolished it. But of course, racism is still present. We still have prejudices, but at least it's not no longer official, despite the efforts of some in places to bring it back. But it's the evolution always happens like that. You go too much to one extreme, and then there is a pushback. You go to the other side until we find balance. But we are moving forward. We are progressing, and you know this. This American that found the Spirit's book a couple of months ago that is doing some videos. One of the first things that he said was uh, in 1857, this book was already talking about equality of races, of no divisions, no skin color. That's amazing. And again, yes, it was. It is something. Nowadays we read it and it makes sense to us, but at that time it was something completely out of the ordinary, even if it was in Europe, which was already a little more evolved socially than the rest of the world. Okay.
800. Should we be concerned that Spiritism may fail to triumph over the negligence of human beings and their attachment to material things? This question demonstrates a very superficial knowledge of human nature. If one could believe that any cause could transform them by mere charm or enchantment, ideas change gradually, depending on the individual, and several generations are needed for the complete eradication of old habits. Therefore, the transformation of humankind can be carried out only over the course of time, slowly and step by step. With each new generation, part of the veil evaporates, and Spiritism will dissolve it entirely. In the meantime, even if it only cures human beings of a single fault, this is a step forward. This would be a tremendous accomplishment because this first step would make the rest much easier.
Yeah, I think this is a valid question by Kardec to the spirits, right? If spiritism may fail to triumph over the negligence of human beings. And this is something that we have to be always very concerned, right? Because the majority of us prefer not to be involved in things that can cause us personal problems. The other day I was reading a statistic that I found very interesting, that when the Nazis took over Germany, right, 3% of Germans were active in as Nazis, persecuting others and doing all the damage that the Nazist party did in the beginning before the wars, right? 90% of Germans were indifferent, right? Not doing anything, not doing one thing or the other, right? And that's the indifference that allows it to grow and to triumph. So when we talk about the possibility of spiritism failing, again, in Europe, it appeared in France, and in Europe, it mainly disappeared, right, with the two world wars. We still had a Spiritist Congress in Paris in 1925, that Leon Denis was the president. But after the Second World War, Spiritism practically disappeared in Europe. It moved to Brazil. And now it's coming back, it's growing again, but mainly with some Brazilians that went back, like here, and are disseminating it. But with the progress, the technological progress that we have, you will continue to grow. It will continue to spread because, um, again, for those that decide to study it seriously, Spiritism doesn't impose any truths, doesn't force you to do anything, just explains, invites you to go deeper, to study, to change yourself. The inner transformation that Spiritism asks you to do is a personal journey. If you don't want to do, you are not forced to do. So with that, we have to go back to what the Spirit tells us here. Ideas change gradually, depending on the individual, and several generations are needed for the complete eradication of all habits. We struggle to eliminate our bad habits. That's the reality. We have to make an effort. And to eliminate bad habits, it has to be a daily effort, daily journey of changing them. So imagine the whole humanity. It takes generations, and we are here 200 years later, and still with a small minority of people understanding and being interested in the concepts. But we will continue to grow. It will continue spreading. It will continue slowly. Again, we will come back in a new incarnation, and we will be here also working to disseminate maybe not Spiritism, but the Spiritist teachings, because that is part of who we are now. If we are here, right, the basic concepts of Spiritism are with us. So when next incarnation someone talks to us, even if we are not born in the middle of a spiritual family, someone talks to us about reincarnation, it will sound familiar. If someone talks about mediumship, it will sound familiar to us, and we will have an interest in knowing more about these concepts that we are learning in this incarnation, because it will be on us to continue disseminating these ideas for our personal growth and for the growth of others, our brothers and sisters in humankind. Okay.
801.
Yeah.
Why have the spirits not taught what they are teaching now since the beginning of time? You do not teach to children what you teach to adults, just as you do not give newborn babies food they cannot digest. There is a time and place for everything. Spirits have taught many things that human beings have not understood or that they have distorted, but that they are now capable of understanding. Through their teachings, they have prepared the ground to sow the seed that is now about to take hold and grow despite being incomplete.
Okay, here the spirits are telling us that everything comes at the right time. And we mentioned this many times, right? If Spiritism had appeared 100 years before, Kardec would be burned at stake, right? His previous incarnation, he was burned he was killed, and I don't remember. I don't think he was burned. Jan Hus, the Czech scholar, right? That ended up being killed. So Spiritism had to come when we managed to get rid of the obligation to follow religion. The French Revolution that was messy, but created some liberties that ended up persisting, and one of them is the separation of science from church. If we study the story of Darwin, Darwin was a very religious person. He struggled a lot internally to publish his studies because he knew that his studies would go against what religion had taught until that time. But he decided in the end to publish. He came 2 years after the Spirit's book in 1859. But again, he couldn't have published his books 100 years before. Um, the spirits have been telling us, have been communicating with us since the beginning of time. You go to the Greek, and you have the Pitonisa, right? The Delphos oracle. These are spirits communicating. We have Moses that received the Ten Commandments according to him from God, according to us from superior spirits. These are spirits communicating. So it's always been there. It's just that we were not prepared to go deeper into it. So Spiritism comes at a time that we are ready to deal with it, to learn and understand it. And again, 150 years later, 170 years later, which is next year, we are still struggling to with a lot of concepts. We still need to understand better a lot of concepts. We have the books by Chico Xavier, the books by Divaldo, the psychological studies of Joana de Angelis, and we have so many different avenues still to go uh, to evolve and to learn more, that it's as the spirit says here, now about to take hold and grow despite being incomplete. So they are telling us it is still incomplete. It was incomplete at that time, and it's still incomplete today. We still need to learn more, to find more information, to learn more things, and to learn how to uh, take care of ourselves for our moral and intellectual growth. So that's what the spirits are telling us. Things come at the time that they have to come. Um, Chico Xavier, in the beginning of his journey, he had a lot of resistance also in Brazil. A lot of Spiritism in Brazil had to register itself as a religion in order to escape persecution from the government. Um, so all these things are evolving nowadays. Um, you are able to, in many countries, you are able to practice what you believe with much more freedom than in the past. There are still religious persecutions in many countries, but it's less and less. As we're slowly we are moving forward. Okay. 802.
Since Spiritism must mark the progress of humankind, could the spirits speed up this progress through general and clear manifestations to convince even the most skeptical individuals? You want miracles, but God grants you miracles every day, and yet you still have people who deny their existence. Did Christ convince his contemporaries by the miracles he accomplished? Do you not see people to this day denying the most evident facts, despite occurring before their very eyes? Are there not some who say that they would not believe even if they saw it? No, it is not through miracles that God will bring human beings back to their senses. God's goodness allows them to convince themselves through reason.
And again, this is very clear, right? The spirits they started with manifestations, physical manifestations, right? The table turning, the noises, the raps, and people that were there, they were fascinated by it. They found it very interesting, and after a certain period of time, they moved on, right? They lost interest in the phenomenon that were occurring. Kardec was one of the few that went deeper into the study of the phenomena. Here in the United States, the spiritualist movement continued to work with the phenomena and the spiritualism in the UK also continue with the phenomenon until today. There are spiritualist churches here in this country and in the UK. So they continued, but uh, again, it's the joke I always tell, right? If you are in a room full of spiritists and the spirit materializes in the middle of the room, half of us is going to run away and the other half will stay very curious. Then you go and tell your neighbor, and their neighbor looks at you like you are crazy and won't believe what you say. So, that's what the spirits are telling us. That's not the right path, right? The the manifestation of spirits um, doesn't convince people or creates a spectacle and then people move on. And the spirits tells us, right? Christ, the more evolved spirit that came through here, did he convince anyone, this contemporaries? He convinced a few people, right? He created the following, but all those that he healed, all those that he had the ability of improving their condition, the blind that could see, the lepers that were cured, they all, uh, of course, started believing in his teachings. But his apostles that lived with him for 3 years, when he was crucified, they all ran away, right? Afraid of what was going to happen to them. The only one that stayed was John, the evangelist, that stayed with his mother. Um, they only fully convinced themselves that Jesus was always telling them the truth when Jesus appeared to them in the so-called resurrection, which we know it's not a resurrection, it's a materialization, that Jesus appeared in front of them and asked Thomas to touch him, because Thomas, not even not seeing him, could believe. So then and there, they fully believed and started spreading the teachings of Christ, and although all of them ended up being killed one way or another, with the exception of, again, John the Evangelist, that died of old age. So if at that time Christ himself could not convince the majority of people that lived around him, how can spirits convince people by just manifesting themselves? Uh, we we humans in these times, any spiritual manifestations we label as crazy, as other things, right? That we try to find excuses. So, as the Spirit says here, it's not through miracles that God will bring human beings back to their senses. God's goodness allows them to convince themselves through reason. Again, Spiritism will brings to us reason, asks us to reason, to not accept anything blindly, to question it, to reflect on it, and to believe if we are fully convinced. Because if it's something that you are not fully convinced, someone else can come with a different idea and you change your mind. Again, as I say here, I don't believe in reincarnation. I know that reincarnation exists, because if I say I believe, someone can come and make me disbelieve. And nobody can make me disbelieve, because I know that reincarnation exists. I know that the sun exists. Nobody can convince me that the sun does not exist. That is an illusion, right? So that's what Spiritism asks of us, to fully understand reason and accept its truths because makes complete sense to us. Otherwise, leave it aside, wait, and we will come back to it. We don't need to accept everything that Spiritism teaches us. We may leave some things by the side and come back to them because truth will always prevail. Like Kardec told us, it's better to reject 10 lies,
The truth.
that truths, sorry, thank you, Philip, than to accept one lie, which is because truth is there, will come back. We will eventually uh, learn the truths, and the lie can cause a lasting damage if we embrace it. Okay? This was the last question on law of progress. If anyone has any, Danny.
Um, I think that during the Renaissance, when they moved out of the religious oppression, right, from the Catholic Church, the humanism took over the thoughts and philosophy, and as you were saying, they separated from completely, like science. It made a U-turn away from religion, right? And then I see that to this day, as you were saying, if you try to use one to prove the other, like we do in Spiritism, people who are skeptical, like he says here, they say it's mystical. Oh, it's mystical. Like it only by saying that word, it completely demoralize the subject or the conversation. And I was looking for the No Solar, the movie, Astral City, to see if I could find the number two on Amazon, on Prime Amazon. And I found No Solar, the number one. And I was interested by the description because they describe as psychological drama fantasy, and it says when they describe the brief, I forgot the name, the little information they give is spiritual medium Chico Xavier documented his visions
Mm.
of the afterlife. So it's not even the correct
The spirit,
form.
yeah.
So they have to do this because otherwise people won't watch it. I don't know. And I was looking, and then when you look for a movie, the algorithm starts popping up other things. And then it appeared the movie Hereafter with Matt Damon.
Yeah,
I haven't watched it. He plays a psychic.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's in my list now. But the description is drama, science fiction. So when you put science fiction, is a one category. When you put as fantasy, it's another category. It's the same, like it's a mystical. It's,
Yeah,
somebody imagined everything.
yeah, you're right. It's a lot of prejudices are still out there because if you try to if you put something as religious, a lot of people won't watch it just because it's religious, right? So you have to sell it to a broad audience, and you sell it by generalizing it as much as possible and not putting it inside a box. It's easier for people to want to watch the fantasy than to watch, description of life after life, of a life in the spiritual world, of a city in the spirit in the spiritual world, which would scare a lot of people or will make a lot of people not be interested in watching it. I know a lot of people that this um, studio that produces The Chosen, right? A lot of movies that they come with A lot of people do not watch just because it's a religious studio, right? And again, you missed an opportunity to broaden your view. But uh, there's nothing here we can do besides continue studying, disseminating. But just one correction, it was not the Renaissance. It was the end of the French Revolution. The Renaissance didn't separate the church from science from church. They continue for many centuries because Renaissance is a 14th, 15th century, and the separation of church and religion was church and science and religion was in the beginning of the 19th century.
I'm not sure
Yes.
because it's the Renaissance. The historians put the Middle Ages between 500 and 1500.
Yeah.
So the transition is not one day to the next, right? It takes generations. So by the year 1600s, when you have Leonardo da Vinci and all this scientific curiosity, the church doesn't have that power anymore, like controlling. Of course, it's not from one day to the next, but
Besides
they
Galileo and Copernico,
they
they
are breaking out. Yeah, the church is trying with putting people, burning people at the stake and everything, but they didn't accept anyway. It was not like it took the revolution, French Revolution is in 1700s, is a 100 year later. So the revolution is just the explosion of the imploding, the whole system implodes, but the Renaissance is not, of course, they are all religious, they are under the church power, but they are going against a lot of things by applying scientific methods and stuff.
uh, do some research on the Cardinal Richelieu, right? That's 1700, and he was the leader of the church, and he was ruling France a lot. So imposing his and doing the persecution. So Renaissance, yes, it began the process, but it only really broke after the French Revolution. Yeah. Okay. All right, Philip, let's start law of equality, which is, again, groundbreaking for the time.
803. Are all human beings equal before God? Yes, they all have the same goal, and God's laws are for everyone. You often say, the sun shines for everyone, and this expression reveals a truth that is much broader and general than you realize. All human beings are subjected to the same natural laws. They are all born with the same weaknesses and are subject to the same suffering. The body of a wealthy person dies like that of the poor. God has not given anyone any natural superiority concerning either birth or death. All are equal before God.
Yeah, you can, for us nowadays, we read this question and makes complete sense. Again, not everybody still there are some that believe that some are better than others, right? And it still will last for some time. But at that time that Kardec brought this, we had big differences, right? The rich and the poor, the black and the white, the the ones that live in tribes. There were differences in classes, and we didn't mixed classes, we didn't mixed races, and the spirits are telling us here we are all the same before God. The same, all have the same goal, and God's law are for everyone. And again, the concept of reincarnation makes it even more clear, right? Because you are born one day, one life, you are born as a man, the other as a woman, one as a, a white, black, yellow, red skin, but doesn't matter. What matters is the spirit, the eternal spirit that is evolving. So the concept that Spiritism brings us here, that we are all equal and we are all created simple and unaware, or ignorant is the term that is used in the original French, that you have to understand in English, ignorant, not in the offensive sense, but in the sense of lack of knowledge, that it does exist in English. So you can say unaware if you prefer. But we are created the same, and then we evolve individually by doing our own individual progress. So we are all the same. Okay?
804.
Yeah.
Why has God not given the same abilities and talents to all humankind? God has created all spirits equal, but some have lived longer and consequently acquired more or fewer aptitudes. The difference between them lies in their various degrees of experience and the use of their free will. From there, some are perfected more quickly, which gives them a wide range of skills. This mix is necessary so that all human beings may contribute to God's plans within the limits of their physical and intellectual strength. Individuals make their own contribution. Whatever one cannot do, another can. In addition, as all the worlds of the universe are connected by solidarity, beings from higher worlds, most of which were created before yours, must come and serve as an example for you.
Okay, some interesting concepts, right? They start by saying that God created us all equal. Like we just said, all spirits are created equal. But they are not created at the same time. The journey is different. God is always creating. Spirits are being created at all times. Earth has existed for 4.5 billion years. Human beings in the form that we know today have been here for 10, 15, 50,000 years, right? The Homo sapiens sapiens, I believe, is 50,000 years. The Spirits tells us that we did not, the majority of us did not have our first incarnation on Earth. We came here already after a few incarnations somewhere else, the majority of us. There are some spirits that had their first incarnation on Earth. They are less evolved than the average in terms of intellectual evolvement, not moral. So we have different degrees of experience, right? We can see around. As we evolve morally and intellectually, we are at different stages. And this difference is what is important for all of us to learn from each other and to evolve together as a society. If everyone was great in math and very bad in the rest, where was going to be the progress? Everybody would be making calculations all the time and nothing else. We need people that are good in making food and in science, in arts, in literature. We need people that are good in all different areas, more evolved than us in different areas, so they can help us and we can help them. That is the difference of abilities that helps us grow together. And in the end, they say, the Spirit says, all the worlds of the universe are connected by solidarity. So beings from higher worlds, most of which were created before yours, must come and serve as an example for you. So they are telling us here that spirits from other worlds come to Earth to teach us. And we see that later in the books by Chico Xavier and other spirits when we talk about the exiles from Capella that came 10,000 years ago and helped us jump in the growth, in the evolution, right? They incarnate in Egypt and brought the pyramids that we still don't know how they were done until today. They incarnate in India, in China, and helped humanity evolve. Many of them went back to Capella eventually. Some of them are still with us today, according to the spirits. Most of those that went towards Europe are the ones that are still staying here with us. Maybe we were the ones that came from Capella and didn't progress enough to go back, so we're still here. So all these concepts are, again, groundbreaking for the time of Kardec. And even today, when we talk about spirits from different worlds, very few are completely comfortable with the idea that all places in the universe are inhabited. And again, we just have to use reason, right? Why would the universe be so immense and only Earth will be inhabited? It doesn't make sense at all. So there must be spirits everywhere, as Spiritism teaches us, as the Spirits teaches us. Again, not all worlds have incarnated spirits, but the majority of them have incarnated spirits. It's just that, different dimensions, different realms. So that's why we are not able to see them or to interact with them at our stage of evolution. Or maybe we are and we are not aware. Those that believe in ETs are there telling us that they are here. So it's just a matter of getting comfortable with the concept or not. Okay, so 805.
In passing from a higher world to a lower one, do spirits preserve the faculties they have acquired? Yes. We have already told you that spirits who have progressed cannot regress. As spirits, they may choose a physical envelope that is more insensitive or a position that is more uncertain, but each variation is intended to teach them a new lesson and help them to progress. The diversity of human abilities is a result of the various degrees of perfection achieved by the spirit, rather than something intrinsic to the creation of humankind. God has not created the inequality of human faculties. God permits spirits of different degrees of development to be in contact with each other so that the more advanced may help those who lag behind, and so that all human beings may understand the law of charity that is destined to unite them.
This is a very important concept and something that a lot of people have doubts or question, right? If we go to a less evolved world, does it mean that we are regressing? And again, a spirit never regresses. It is always moving forward, morally and intellectually. Now, you can go to a less evolved world, but you keep who you are, your moral and intellectual abilities. If we use an example here, right? If you live in a developed country and move to a undeveloped country, to a country still not developed, are you regressing? No, you're taking with you all your knowledge, all your moral and intellectual qualities. It's just living in a place that is less evolved than the place you lived before. So you will be able to bring to this new place things that they didn't have in terms of knowledge, maybe in terms of moral teachings, right? It's the same thing, right? We keep everything All the faculties that we acquire belongs to us. The moral and intellectual evolvement that we have belongs to us and we carry with us. Again, we don't bring all the intellectual development in all incarnations because we need to develop other areas, but we bring our moral evolvement to all incarnations with us. Now, of course, as Kardec says here, the diversity of human abilities is necessary for us. It's not that God created inequality. The natural law allows the inequality to help all those to progress together, different degrees of development to be in contact with each other, so that the more advanced may help those who lag behind intellectually and morally. Again, the two wings of evolution. As we evolve, we learn from each other and we teach one another so we can continue this journey together. But a spirit never regress, is always progressing. It may be placed in a less evolved environment, but continues to keep their all their moral and intellectual awareness, knowledge, whatever we want to call. Okay? Okay, we're going to stop here. We are going to leave social inequality, economic inequality for next week. Okay? We have, let me tell you what we have on Saturday. We have a talk by Sabrina Tomaszewski, The Doors of Life, Choices That Shape Our Spiritual Journey. That's Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, through the United States Spiritist Federation. There is a new release that you can find in the United States Spiritist Federation bookstore, Joan of Arc, Medium, a book by Leon Denis, translated into English. That Josara did the translation. It's available in the USSF bookstore. The link is on our email. Okay? This Sunday is the first Sunday of the month. It's February 1st. So we will be studying the book Action and Reaction, chapter 14. On the book club next Wednesday, chapter 3 of the book Ardus Ascension by the Spirit Victor Hugo through the psychography of Divaldo Franco. And that's it for us. Carol, can you do our final prayer?
Yes, certainly. Thank you very much, John. And thank you very much, Philip, for reading this evening and everybody who's here tonight. Infinite Creator and Divine Providence, we give thanks to be together as brothers and sisters for our studies of the Spirit's Book, Book 3, Chapter 8, and starting Chapter 9, the influence of Spiritism on progress and the law of equality. Spiritism brings the knowledge of the moral teachings and helps us to unite humanity as brothers and sisters through love and charity, and destroying the prejudices and dogmas of religion, and adds the balance of science and philosophy. We are moving forward and progressing slowly, step by step. Everything manifests at the right time, including Spiritism, which allows us to reflect, to educate ourselves, and to use our reason. Truth will prevail. This is the law of progress. All human beings are equal before God, and God's laws are for everyone. Individuals make their unique contributions, each at their own pace, through their experiences. We have solidarity with other worlds, and we bring our moral development to all incarnations. We never regress. We give thanks to the spiritual benefactors and the good spirits for guiding and inspiring us this evening. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us, and for our loved ones, our teachers, our directors, our counselors, our mediums, our workers, and all of our participants. We pray for inner peace, and especially now for world peace and for those who are suffering in the physical and spiritual worlds. We pray for our center, SGNY, and all Spiritist centers throughout the world, that they may grow, prosper, expand, and be protected throughout the day and throughout the night. As we close, we humbly ask for safety and protection as we return to our family, friends, loved ones, and co-workers. May we go forth now and remind ourselves to be beacons of love, of light, of peace, of service, and charity, which is love in action. May peace and love prevail. So be it.